Sio, doichu. Dodo kuno khali dana da khana gis ke chalagi khania. Hello, my people. How are you? Whoa, it's been a minute again. Yeah, I know. Every time I come on, it's like, well, this brother has time lapses that are I don't know, but I'm going through some personal stuff right now. Not to mention that things right now financially frustrating. And a lot of our people are going through things of that nature, and I understand. We go through our human experiences, and sometimes they can be devastating, sometimes they're moderate, you know and sometimes they're constant, and trying to deal with them. In my 52 years, I never think that trials and tribulations are something that other people get. We all go through our testing periods, if you will. And I've been through and had my times where things were good, and these days are not one of them. So that's why I'm having issues in terms of dealing with depression. um, give you a quick bio on my background. I, um, I used to own a security company in the Bronx for several years, and I was betrayed. It was a good business that I had. To those who don't, know my, some of my experiences. Not that it's really relevant, it's just basically just offering an explanation as to why I sometimes go through bouts of depression. Because when I had my business in the Bronx, it was a lucrative one. It's a security company, and it was a very, how should I put it, a very significant, again, um, business that I had in my neighborhood where I grew up. And for the most part, it from its beginning, before its end, um, I was at the top of my game. I was making $1,000 a week. I had anywhere between 100 to 200 employees at any given time. Hiring people out of my own backyard, if you will, people who couldn't find work, people who were coming out of prison, that kind of thing, doing a community service. I never received any accolades, never really wanted to. My job was to help as many as those as I could within my community. I felt that was important. And anyone from where they come from, they got us with this mentality, get ahead, get that college degree, get ahead, get a job, and then move out of here. Especially in the ghettos, they tell our people, this is what you got to do to be successful. But damn well, if you are, not of a white complexion, that they really don't want you coming moving in their communities. At the end of the day, so when we're told, even by our own, get a job, go to college, and then when some of us do, struggling right now, going through some things, but I'm okay. I'm holding on. And you, how you doing? Can you hear me? So when some of us do achieve those milestones and we move, the peer pressure comes. This Negro thinks he's better than everybody else, and he got his degree now. He wants to move out of the hood. You know how that go. And the dynamic to that, or the problem that is that's what we teach our children. Wow. Wow. You know, I'm not with my former job anymore that I had for 4 years. Um, yeah, I've been out of that job since mid September. So I know I still have my small business, and I was working Uber until my car broke down just last weekend. So yeah, things are rough right now. Things are not looking too good, but I have something on the horizon and I'm looking forward to. And keep your head up, brother. Keep your head up. Something's bound to change. Something is bound to change. Hold on a second. I gotta take this call. Hello? Hello? Hey, you have my head. You have my. What happened? Why? Didn't I tell you don't touch my headphones? Didn't I tell you? Now I'm upset. Anyway, I'm on the phone. What's the problem? I mean, I'm on the computer. What's the problem? I know that. I know that. Are they talking about letting you guys go home early? They're not. Okay, well, it's not too bad over here. It's about 30 miles per hour. It's not too bad. So anyway, I have to get back to the computer. Okay. Call me if anything, if things get worse and they're not talking about bringing you guys home. Just call me back, right? And listen, when you come home, and bring my headphones. You better not touch them again. I'm not playing. You hear me? Bye. Bye. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. My little girl calling me from school. The weather up here, um, the weather up here is, I don't know, the winds are like supposed to be up to 50 mile per hour winds today. We had severe rain last night. It seemed the rain tapered off early this morning, but the winds are picking up, and they have these alerts now talking about the winds are going to be somewhat severe later on this evening. I'm just hoping everything is fine, because my kids coming home from school and everything. And brother, what's the name of that place? And it was called Cerebral Palsy, Westchester, CPW. Far as I know, they're only based in New York and Connecticut. I don't know if they're based anywhere else. And at this point, I really don't care. After what I went through with them for 4 years, my next venture is to get a business started. I have some money's coming, so I'm looking to, yeah. Brother, that right there is a hug within itself, man. I appreciate that. I'm humble, because with two kids and barely working right now. As a matter of fact, I'm not working at all right now because my car broke down. When my vehicle was up and running, I was doing Uber and I was making good money with that. But my car broke down, and let me tell you something about Uber. They have some programs that they offer to help you to get your car fixed. And I went to them to ask them about paying off a percentage of my car to get fixed, and they said no. After I did a few thousand miles on my vehicle, it was only a few $100s that I needed to pay the difference because my truck, it was expensive to fix it. I didn't have all of the money up front, so I asked them to pay the difference, and I would pay them off, increments, through the direct deposit. They flat out told me no. So yeah, brother, I'm in class right now, 8:12 a.m. I'll try, brother. I'll try. Okay, I'll try. We'll talk later. Yeah. So, getting back to what I was speaking about, with regards to um, the the job situation, my security company. Uh, I had my security company for several years in my borough where I'm from, and of course, I had a business partner. I was betrayed by my partner, and again, depression Depression. Just got an alert. They said it's a bomb cyclone that's hitting the northeastern part of the United States now. Halito, Sio, Doichu. Sister, how you doing? It's a long time again. As I was just explaining why my lapses in time that I'm on the internet, going through a lot right now. My job, not working after 4 years with this company. And my vehicle broke down, so I'm virtually out of work right now. But I have a little bit of sunshine at the end of the rainbow waiting for me. So I'm trying to keep my head up. I got something coming, but good to hear from you, sister. Good to hear from you. So what happened was, 6 years in the business, troubling times we are in. Sorry to hear of your misfortune. Yeah, we go through trials, be tested, by our Creator to see what we're going to do. And that, as the minister put it, he said that tells us who we really are in times of trouble. And I think, and I've been through worse times than what I'm in now. I mean, before, I remember after losing my business, damn near being in the street, with my baby girl. She was just a year old. And now I'm in a private house. I got my own house. So could come a long way. It seems like though every time you take, 2 steps forward, take 3 steps back sometimes. But I believe that the Creator, Almighty God, He wants our people to become self-reliant, independent. And look, this is something that's across the board. One of the reasons why I left my job, thank you, sister, thank you, I will, is because I was in an accident in April, and coming back from the accident because I got hurt after 2.5 months, they cut my hours at my job. And with like no explanation, we're in a deficit, we're in the red right now. That was the excuse. Knowing that these people are involved, in criminal activities, if you will, state subsidized companies, got their hand in the cookie jar, that kind of thing. So I asked what's going on, and like I said, we're just in a deficit. And don't worry, you'll get your hours back, soon. And soon never came, and then asked questions. Oh, we never said that to you, yada yada, get out of face. Talking to the wrong one like that. Don't talk, you know what I'm saying? Indigenous. See, the spirit of our people, we're supposed to stand up in the face of tyranny, and indignant behavior. Our people, we have to learn to be self-sustained again. It seems like watching the weather up here where the wind is starting to swirl. But anyway, we are, and I'm not negating the fact that a lot of our people are very good when it comes to business. But it seems like we become wealthy unless we're entertainers. That we are the best and worst street pharmacists, if you don't understand what I'm saying. With all of that mathematical talent, genius, and going out and being able to create business off the streets like that, you think that we'd be better off. It's just that greed and division has entered into the fray. So we are, without center, equilibrium, balance, unity. Those things are essential. Man cannot live by bread alone. So being that we have those issues and greed, we can't come together on that. And that was one of the reasons why when I lost, and this is the reason why I go through depression from time to time, is the depression is a serious, there was times when I wanted to, people ask, you depressed? No. You be too prideful, and you don't want to claim being, depressed, and you always want to try to rise above those things. And I had to come to terms with it that depression has hit me. It's hit me very hard. I'm at an age in my life where I figured, but again, God gives us so much that we can withstand. And he also lets us know that, look, you're going to go through this because I want to see who you really are at the end of the day. And we fight and struggle with the demons within ourselves, constantly, so that we would, see a brighter day and make the right decisions in our time of frustration, pain, and anguish, that will ultimately come at some point for all of us. And that spiritual moral direction is that God should be at the forefront of all of that for many of us. But for many of us, it's not the case. And again, that's what I've been struggling with. Now, so I reflect again. I reflect, on my time, lost with what I had worked so hard for in terms of my business that I had. And from time to time, I go through the spiral, up and down, like this roller coaster with feelings. And I could be just sitting back for a minute and just, thought pops in my head. And I'm thinking about when I had, my security company and I was still living in the Bronx and things were really good. And, so, and I had never, let me tell you something. I got to say this. I never wanted to go back working for myself. I mean, going back working for anyone else. And when I say anyone else, what I'm talking about, I had worked for the establishment to some degree all my life, whether, mostly the private sector, and, my goal in life was to become self-sustained. I had never been to college, never went to business school or anything like that. I had learned some business points from neighbors who I saw they had come with practically no education themselves, and were very successful with the business, especially the West Indians that I came across in my time in the Bronx. They were very extremely successful, and that was like a beacon for me. It was like, oh wait, what, these people coming here from these countries? I'm native, and what am I doing? And I was lucky enough to have come to some money. Of course, you make mistakes along the way. I know people college degrees and they're not successful in business. It sometimes it's not just know-how. Now don't get me wrong. When it comes to business and dealing with economics, you should know what you're doing. Budgeting money and organizing yourself and learning how to establish good client, relationships, is essential to any business that's successful. So for me, it was like, feeling around in the dark, with a little flashlight, trying to learn. And I had some, that's why I took on some business partners, some brothers that I partnered up with. And one of the brothers that I partnered up with, he was older than me. And he was a former Citibank employee. God bless him. He's dead now. But, and he was one of the brothers who betrayed me. Yeah, sadly enough. But he had some good business insight. And I learned a lot from him. And that's why I still have a small business now. That's why I'm not totally broke. And am able to still maintain an income. But anyway, so, these things are important for us. And I believe that ultimately the Creator, our God, he wants us to go back to our indigenous ways of independence, not just depending on someone else to, bring food and water to our table. We must learn to do it for ourselves. Even if you have to take baby steps, to get there. These words of encouragement I'm giving, I give them back to myself. because I go through bouts of depression again, and I'm not perfect. I'm still a man, struggling in this mad world, that we live in today, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So, I've been babbling on for 20 minutes or more now, and I just got finished. I wanted to give a shout out to the brother Cormio Ahau. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, brother. I just got finished watching one of your videos, and all I can say, brother, is applaud you. A total applaud. A total applause. I watch these videos, or maybe one or two videos that I've watched from you, and I have to say, brother, that you commendable, absolutely commendable. Your presentation, your depth into our people's history, and the truth about the darker indigenous peoples here. The color variable. I say we so stuck on color. It's sad. It's sad. And what lies at the root is that we see our people never had issues with color. We never did. It was the Europeans who brought that. And this is why we're having so much issues with it today, even amongst our own. Someone will say, oh, you're not native, or you're not this, and you're not that. And internal strife has almost boiled over to some degree because of the color variations of our people. We should all realize that most of us have many different variations of color within our family now. But this is nothing new. This is very old. The black man contains within his genetic makeup the black, the brown, the red, the yellow, and lastly the white. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, all of you people who claim to know where all of these colors come from, some is through geography, depending on where you're living on a planet. But we know damn well that the black, the brown, the red, yellow, we have all of those traits and colors within our families, the darker peoples, period. We have all of these genetic variations of colors. We know it. What happened to our Mongolian, East Indian brothers who are on the Indian reservations, who are mixed, who are my complexion and lighter, some a little bit darker, depending on how closer they are, to the sun. Whether it's the Dakotas or the southwestern United States, because if you ever seen some of them brothers and sisters out there, dark brown, dark reddish brown. And if some of them were to come to the East Coast, where it's out over there, like the Grand Canyon and those areas, it's hot out there. They're in the sun constantly. That's why when we see images and pictures of guy up there, Geronimo, sometimes he's brown, reddish, and darker color. And for those who want to say that those pictures are that, was somebody actually said that to me. I don't know who it was. Could have been native, could have been some white person, some ignorant individual said that those color prints from back in the 1800s did not show the people in its authenticity, which is preposterous. That they would show a picture of a white man standing next to a real dark Indian, but yet the picture shows white man, and he's in fact white, but shows the Indian next to him almost black, straight hair and complexion. I've seen many of those pictures. I've seen a picture of black elk, and I can see why they called him black elk. He was this color. Excuse that part. He was this color. So, I mean, really, they want to claim today that the Indians that you see today, the high yellow Indians on the Indian reservations in the Dakotas, are the original Indians. You know, they are our family. They are our people. They are indigenous. Yes, they are native. Just because they're lighter doesn't negate the fact. It's when they start acting outside of their character. That's when you lose your native card. You see, what do you mean by that? When they start saying that other indigenous tribes. Now, again, the confusion comes. This is where the confusion comes from, right? They say that Black people were already here in North America, and this is true. But the issue is they didn't call themselves Black, and this is why this has come up today. You know, they weren't Black people, right? In their minds back then, they didn't have to, because color wasn't an issue. I've said this in so many of my other videos. I'm saying it again. Color was not an issue. The white man brought that, and henceforth today we having issues over it. They were darker peoples, straight hair, curly hair, kinky hair. Yes, darker peoples. And then white people went and brought so-called Africans over, right? The numbers have been exaggerated, yes, but they did kidnap Africans, and those so-called Africans that they brought over were not spear chuckers, as Alex Haley's roots would have you believe. Those people, excuse me, those people would have you believe, excuse me, short some breath, would have you believe that everyone that they kidnapped from the continent were backwards, spear chucking, tutu wearing, you know, jungle bunnies. And white folks had to do that. But I'm here to tell you that those people that they kidnapped were scientists, were master masons, builders, architects, very astute scholars. You see, why would they do that? Why would they kidnap those people? I thought they just needed slave labor. See, this is the misconception here in North America. When I hear people say that, white people particularly say that, well, the white man built America. That's a damn lie. He had a hand in the whip. Yes. Yes, he did. He was out in the fields, overseer, beating on the people who were enslaved. But the first people that they kidnapped and brought over, they weren't slaves. They were Muslims. 90% of them were Muslims. And they spoke their language. They knew where they were from. They were very intelligent people. To break them, they had to dehumanize them. And that took 64 years. Now, this is the Masonic secret that a lot of people are unawares to. They tell us that the first Africans were born. You tell one lie, you get caught. You tell another one and try to back up from the first one that you got caught in. They say that the first, and this thing they got going on. Excuse me. Hello? Hello? Who is this? No, I haven't. I haven't received it. 120. Yep. I'm at work right now. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, where was I? So the 64-year incubation period. Now they have us believe that the first Africans were brought over in 1619 to Jamestown, Virginia. You know, I tell people just go to the Library of Congress. They have this in Washington, and they know it. The Masons, especially, they know it. You know, and if they think that I'm scared to speak on these issues because of they coming after me or fear for my life, you're crazy. I know they don't know the God that I know that's causing all of this weather, this dramatic weather around the country. So you can do what you want because the God of all time is here, and He's going to deal with you and your madness. So anyway, as a matter of fact, He's dealing with you now. So 64 years came from not the 1619. They got this thing called 1619 Project now. To say that that's when the first Africans were brought over. One of the biggest lies ever told. You know? So from 1555 to 1619 was 64 years. 64 years. That was the incubation period that it took to create the first group of Negroes. Now, and I have to tell people this because some of us are so on this idea that all black people here were not Africans. That's true. There was a percentage of them that were brought over. I'm going to emphasize this, re-emphasize this, that were brought over to build this country for them. Now, the ancient Maya, the pyramids, the mound builders, we didn't build anything for this white man because of terrain. That's why he had. And I was just watching a video. They trying to cut my feed now. Now they messing with my internet. Yeah. They trying to cut the feed, but I'm gonna press on. They knew that the indigenous populations knew how to live off the land here. And that's why when they tried to enslave our people, it didn't work 9 times out of 10. That's why he went to Africa. Right? So they brought over brothers and sisters, put them in a what's called a project town that they erected. I believe it was in Jamestown, Virginia. But it wasn't in 1619, it was in 1555. So what they did was they forced mommy to have sex with her son. They forced, and that's where the word MF come from. They forced daddy to have sex with his daughter and brother, sister, etc., etc. And they did this for 64 years. The children that were born out of this, they took it from its mother and gave it to a white woman. And the white woman raised the child, and since the child could hear, the white woman called the child nigga. Now, this might be surprising to some people. This might even be shocking to some other people, or this might be too much truth. They can't handle it. Then if you can't handle it, get the hell off here. Because the Jews talk about their Holocaust all the time and tell us what happened to them. And we sympathize. We don't say, oh, that's good for them. We don't say that. No. We say that's terrible. What kind of human being could do something like this? But when we tell our stories now, oh, that's too much. Why you got to bring this up? You're racist. Right. So the white woman called that child a nigger, and thus a society 64 years later was born. A society of Negroes were born. A project. Sound familiar? They say we got a lot of black people today in the ghettos around the country in projects, right? A project. Something to experiment. or foresee into the unforeseen future, but an experiment unknown to its end, but an idea of which way it's going. If you follow my, that's not the Webster's version, but I think that commonsensical people out there could understand what I'm trying to say. So this was something that they planned hundreds of years ago. So now in the library, this is in the Library of Congress, and our people need to go study this. And what happened was, of course, and I was watching the brother Karamio Ahao's video, and I think I saw something with where they were showing the population, changes in terms of from the 1700s to the 1900s, and how the fluctuations they said between whites, blacks, indigenous peoples, how at the beginning the indigenous peoples and the blacks numbers were lower in terms of, and I looked at the numbers and I said, when has the white man ever told the truth about anything? In terms of, I'm not taking away from the brother's research. I'm saying that we have to even take what he puts on paper with a grain of a teaspoon of salt, right? So that means even though we do our research which he writes, we have to be careful. Not saying that the white man does not tell the truth, but there is always some admixture in there or some taking out. That's why the Bible says, for any man that shall add unto this book, I shall add unto him the plagues. And then it says, for any man that shall take out of this book, I shall take his name out of the book of life. So what manner of man would do something like that in a holy book that's meant to enlighten the people, wake them up? Who would add or who would take out? Well, our history, it shows that the white man has never really been forthcoming in truth. That's just a fact. My job is to get our people to be more critical in our thinking. He's never been a majority anywhere on this planet. Even if it was that he became a majority here in the United States, what makes him a majority and us a minority is our divisions. This is why when they found out that there were trading, that there was visitations between the Moors who had come here and other darker peoples had come here to the shores of North America. It's trading with the indigenous populations here. So that means that our connectedness, internet, through trading, we outnumber him. But because of our inability to see past geography, this is another thing that's going to get us killed. We're so proud now that we're native, indigenous. You mean to tell me that we can't look over to our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and the continent of Africa to do business with them again? Because that's what we used to do. And the white man created divisions that we would hate. Now, the immigration policy, and this is why he wants us to start our own businesses. He's after us to start our own businesses because now the white man is using the economic card against us, and we don't see it. We don't see it. Some of our brothers and sisters over here, African Americans, so-called African Americans, saying they're taking our jobs from us. You see these other people come on over here, they might get a job here and there, Some of them, and most of them, they start in their own businesses. And then who do they come sell to? Yes, the white man gives them favoritism. In some cases, they give them money to start businesses in our communities. Yes, they do that. But why? Why does he do that? He does that to create enmity and division. And we eat it up. We eat it up without thinking first. This is what he's creating. So you are thinking that these people are coming over to take what you got when you barely have any goddamn thing, because you don't work with your own brothers and sisters to keep anything that you do have, which ain't much. Because of this jealousy and hate in our own spaces. And a foolish religion that gives us nothing but death and destruction, and no defense against an enemy that's right in our face that wants to kill and destroy our people. So we have to seriously look at what it means to be indigenous. Does it mean to be foolish, foolhardy, dumb as hell, divided and conquered? So we still got nations over here that we can't agree. And I'd like to say that there has been some progress. I'm not all, gloom and glum and, negative. I know that there's progress being made in some circles. It's not enough. It's not enough. And sometimes I wonder, because the white man has set his diseased hand of destruction and division amongst the yellow indigenous peoples on their Indian reservations in the plains and other places, that they look at the darker brothers like how the white man looks at us. Less than and worth nothing. That mindset has to be destroyed, or we will destroy ourselves. We ain't too far from that. We're not too far from that. Can there be mitigating circumstances that can offset the current catastrophe, the current path that we're on to catastrophe? Only through humility. That's the only way that we can overcome the disease of racism. Our people have been infected with it as well. We want to act as though it doesn't exist. When some of the indigenous nations found out that the white man was bringing in black people from far off another continent, and he saw them, they said, oh, they too much different from us. Their skin complexion is almost the same as ours. And this is another thing. They got us believing that all the Africans that came over here were dark skinned. Now, of course, the wise slave masters, they did over time, they did go into the jungles of Africa to get the warriors and the tribes from the other kingdoms, smaller tribal kingdoms, after they kidnapped those who were sold into slavery in the cities. I said cities. In Egypt. And then they went to like Mansa Musa and North Congo. And, went to those kingdoms. Again, the Africans, they didn't know slavery. They didn't know chattel slavery. They knew slavery, but it's different slavery. They didn't know chattel slavery. They didn't know what that was. You say chattel slavery, you say, what's that? But whatever language is spoken, what's that? What's chattel slavery? We practice slavery over here as well. We want to act like we so high and mighty. We had it here too. Certain indentured servitude through wars and debts. We did the same. That's how you know our people related. We want to act like we so high and mighty over here. And then I hear white folks still say, well, the Africans, they sold their people. Like my next door neighbor said to me, she said to me, yeah, we wouldn't have been able to just found out my next door neighbors are from Alabama. Because her son has a Confederate flag that they drives up in, our next door driveway. And I said, yeah, well, you mess with the wrong one. So she said, yeah, Africans, they sold. And I said, yes, they did. But they didn't know that they're selling their families into chattel slavery because they didn't know what that was. Chattel slavery was totally different. It was alien. They thought that they were, going to be treated somewhat, okay, not tortured, not forced to have sex with their family members, not skinned alive, burned at the stake, chopped up, sold off family members, their names taken from them. They didn't know that was going on here. You got to put things into perspective. So, our brothers, we want to act so high and mighty against our African. I tell you, the same snake that bit us, bit our African brothers too. I gotta end this part. This is part one to Indigenous Peoples News Network, and I have to take a short break, but I will be back for part two shortly.